Hi, everyone. I'm Britt Ghiroli. I am filling in for Scott Braun today. I'm here with Erik Kratz on Foul Territory. Welcome to FT Live. Join us, tweet us, let us know what we're doing. It's only Erik and I today, so we are relying on comments and feedback from all of you guys. Right, Erik?
Yeah, we need the chat. Every day we need the chat. Anytime we can have the chat will let Britt know if she's kind of getting off track a little bit. They love me. They don't say anything bad about me because I'm not going to read it.
How could they? That is basically what I subscribe to as well. But happy Friday, FT fam. We will get you through previewing, everything that is happening this weekend. Some really big series around baseball. Lots of news this morning as well. And we're almost into, Kratzy, my favorite time of the season, which is the playoff push. We're getting into September. Things are heating up. They're getting interesting. Things are also interesting here at FT. There's some big news next week. The show is picking up. It's going on a little bit of a move. It's headed down to old Alabama, where FT is going to be next week. They'll be live from the Pro Rivals Open in Point Clear, Alabama, Monday through Friday. Attendees include John Smoltz, Greg Maddux, Josh Donaldson, Vince Coleman, and a lot more. That looks like there could be worse days at the office, Kratz, than being at, that looks like a beautiful golf course. Have you been there?
I know. Rub it in. I didn't get invited. I have to stay here. So there's that. But it's going to be sick because it's a bunch of dudes playing against each other. That guest list, I always feel like that's our guest list now. I'm hoping it grows based on when everybody has their tee times and everything. It's a pretty sick event. We did it a little bit last year, but now we're kind of upgrading, taking it down to Alabama.
I love it. Shout out John Smoltz, Michigan State legend. I'm also a Michigan State legend. A little bit lesser known, but anyway, shout out Smoltzy. Let's charge the mound. We got some cool stuff going on for you.
Charging the mound.
Boston, New York. Let's do it. Red Sox, Yankees. What do you got on this? Again, I know this is a rivalry, Kratzy. This is also, let's make it very clear for Toronto fans who have been long suffering. They're in first place. This is a second place rivalry. They are within a half game of each other. They are fighting. They're very much in the playoff mix. How excited are you to kind of watch these teams? You look at Boston, and I think they're two totally different teams too. I think New York, the window is right now. They're an older team, a team that certainly has a lot of injuries. With Boston, my mom's a huge baseball fan, and she's like, I don't know anybody on the Red Sox. I was trying to explain to her that they built from within. Chaim Bloom did a great job of acquiring all these top prospects, many of them who are now up here. Of course, Roman Anthony, the latest as well. We'll get to him a little bit more in detail later on in the show. But, you look at this series, how do you think that this all shakes out?
I mean, how it shakes out, we can get into that. I mean, if you think matchups are what they are and figure out who's going to win and who's going to lose. But I love what you said about Chaim Bloom. Chaim Bloom, not only did he acquire some of these prospects, but he helped develop. He helped the system develop these guys, and he put people in a situation to help the system develop these guys. So could be looking up for the Cardinals. But as far as the two teams they're just built differently. Even when the Red Sox stink, because there haven't been any years where the Yankees stink, as much as Yankees fans think they stink some years, they don't stink. They don't ever stink. The Red Sox stink sometimes. They have some absolute stinkers of seasons, and now they're back up. They have one of the, I think it's top 5 ERA, if not top 3 bullpen ERA in the game, which, you got to build that too. You got to build that up. You got to have that to be able to have success in the playoffs. And this lineup, besides Trevor Story and Alex Bregman, are super young. They are young all across the board. I get it. Yoshida's coming out there now, and he's getting some at-bats here and there. But this is a young team. The Yankees, while they are that the Red Sox are built to do, to win the World Series in the Red Sox mind. I don't know if the Red Sox are going to be able to do it. The Yankees have the experience, and anytime this rivalry hits off, no matter where the Red Sox are in the standings, because the Yankees are almost always at the top, it is always a good series. So whether they're in second place or not, banger of a rivalry.
Yeah, I agree. Boston takes game 1 last night. We saw Roman Anthony go yard, and really interestingly, Alex Bregman, who has been around a lot of young players in Houston, has transitioned excellently in Boston. He's got his own beer. I mean, the guy's just been there for a hot second. They already love him. He called Roman Anthony one of the most mature 21-year-old that he's ever been around. And, I believe him, Kratzy, because I think when you're talking about markets like Boston and New York, you can't just have the physical skills. You have to be able to handle those markets. And I think there certain young players are not equipped at 21 years old to go right into Boston and a New York. So I think that you have to have that level of maturity. And certainly Roman Anthony seems to have it, because he's going to fail. At some point in time, he's going to come up, he's going to struggle. He's going to have to be able to be okay in that media market, which is very much like a fishbowl. He's going to have to be strong enough mentally to handle that. So I think when you look at this like idea of, hey, let's bring up a guy like Roman Anthony, to me, Alex Bregman's quote makes a lot of sense. And have you played with anybody that kind of reminds you of that when you look at this like young? I remember Manny Machado coming up in a pennant race as a 20-year-old, and they had to be certain that he was going to be okay and not wilt under the pressure. They brought him up. They moved him from shortstop to third base. That's kind of what this reminds me of a little bit. Anybody come to mind for you?
I mean, not in that same ilk of like Manny Machado or like Bryce Harper type of like superstar. But I remember first playing with Neil Walker. Neil Walker was a guy, his dad had played in the big leagues. His uncle had played in the big leagues. He had that, like, he had been around big league clubhouses. And when I played with him in AAA, he already had a cup of coffee. But it was something that he was a young guy that knew his routine and knew how to get himself ready for big league games. Day in and day out. We played in AAA together. We played in the big leagues together. And I think it's a rare thing. So when they say this about Roman Anthony, I know a guy, Justin Burkholder, who used to coach him in high school, just talked about how he was mature. Obviously, physical maturity is something that comes at a different time for everybody. He's physically gifted. When you add in somebody that's mature and has mental maturity to add to it, that's when you start getting guys who are, could be perennial all-stars, could be guys that grow into their power, which he hasn't grown. Roman Anthony hasn't grown into his power yet. I think he has 23 or 27 extra base hits, like an OPS of like 840. So, but he only has 5 homers. So he's going to start hitting more homers when he grows into his physical maturity and his big league swing comes through. To me, that is you're talking about like an MVP type of candidate. You're talking about a perennial all-star type of candidate. And it's all because, he has that extra intangible, which is the mental maturity to handle the ups and downs of the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you're dead on. I think for Boston, this is going to be like the start of their window, right? Like, I don't think they have enough this year to go to the World Series. They could use a middle of the order big bat. I mean, I don't know where they would have gotten that. Oh, wait, they traded away Rafael Devers. I think that, that's going to end up obviously hurting them a little bit this year. But if Craig Breslow gets the okay from John Henry, if they do agree to spend and supplement this core, I think this could be a really interesting winter for the Red Sox. The Yankees, in my mind, I'm a little confused because last year we saw on the big stage, and people in the comments are getting into this too, like fundamentally they're not a good team. And you see that. You've seen that in a lot of the games that they've lost this year. I mean, I remember the Toronto series against them where the Blue Jays, obviously in first place, put the ball in play all the time. They don't strike out. They were just kind of running amok on the Yankees. And when your struggles are on such a big platform like the Yankees were last year, why do you not go out and then fundamentally address that? And that's part of the issue that fans have had with Aaron Boone, I think, is there's so little that manager can control. But fundamentally, the Yankees should be a better team, right? We're in the big leagues. And I think when you see some of the stuff that they don't do well, how poor they are in defensive metrics, base running metrics, they're not a team. They're not the Toronto Blue Jays. They don't put the ball in play at a high clip. These are things that they need to get better at. And these are also reasons why I don't think, of course, absent of Garrett Cole and some of the things that they're missing this year, that they're not built for a deep October run in my mind either. I don't know how you see it, but to me, these are two teams that are fighting for a wild card spot, but ultimately I have early exit for both of these teams for different reasons. I think you could be a lot more optimistic right now if you're a Boston Red Sox fan.
Okay, I'm going to first hit on something that bothers me when people watch games or see games. They always want to run back these narratives. They always want to run back like narratives of kind of what you were alluding to in the sense of like they don't play good defense. Yeah, for sure. They've led Major League Baseball in errors since the All-Star break. I think they have 29. But I would say they addressed those issues. They brought in Paul Goldschmidt, who was playing better than the platoon people, and then Anthony Rizzo came back, but he wasn't himself last year, so that's an upgrade. They moved Jazz Chisholm back to second base, who all of a sudden now can't turn a double play, and he throws it into the stands, game every other game. They upgraded a third base in Ryan McMahon, and so to me, those are 3 upgrades at positions that they needed those. The issue is you're having a bad year from Volpe. You're having some of their pitchers who don't field the ball very well, and you're having a guy last night in Ben Rice who threw the ball into center field, obviously hit a ding or 2, hasn't caught much. So it's almost like they're stealing from Peter to pay Paul. It's like you have to figure out what the best lineup is defensively and offensively. And up until now, up until this season when they upgraded with McMahon and they shifted Jazz over to second base, their entire roster, their entire position player roster was made up of dudes who hit the ball really freaking hard and hit the ball out of the ballpark. That plays in the playoffs. I think they have a better chance than the Red Sox because of that. But I agree with you. I don't think these teams are necessarily built for a late run unless they can clean those things up. And I think the Red Sox are in better position to clean those things up. I mean, I'm sorry, the Yankees are in better position to clean some of that up. Do they do it? Who knows?
Disagree, Eric. What if I told you that teams that make contact more actually do better than the high power teams in the playoffs? Because power pitching almost always beats power hitting. So teams like the Astros, who historically have been a contact team, do well in the postseason. So I do not think that the Yankees are built better than the Red Sox at all for October. I'm going to disagree on that. But we can. You got a counterpoint? Let's hear it.
Last point, so we can move on. No team has ever made it to the World Series or has won the World Series without being top 4 in home runs. So
what about strikeout rate?
Just talking about home runs. Just talking about home runs. You got to hit dingers. You got to hit dingers.
You do, but you also have to put the ball in play because teams that strike out a lot just almost always exit early. Check out those stats as well in the break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk a little Orioles with Baltimore Banner's Andy Kostka.
Okay, Kratz, I opened up Arena Club, put my own money in there, and I wasn't going to go big. I know we went over the Ruby pack a week ago. This time, I just went for the low-level pack, where it's an easy entry point, $25. You can get yourself a big boy card. The Grail has many good options. I slice open the pack. We're looking at it if you're watching us right now, and I pull a card from the 1950s. Super cool. I enjoyed the experience looking at it. It's Jim Gilliam. It's a top set from the mid-50s. But I got an offer for more than what the slap pack costs, and I sold it back. Tough times for the Dodgers right now. Don't at me, but I got $28 instantly, so I can buy another one of those packs and try and get what I want.
Absolutely. The excitement, I heard Kip say it before, the excitement's in the chase. You sold it back. Now you get to open another one. I enjoy when you slide it across the screen there and the pack opens.
arenaclub.com/foul. 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase. Get after it.
Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Craig Kimbrel. Yeah. Craig Kimbrel, Britt Ghiroli. Veteran reliever is Craig Kimbrel signing with the Houston Astros. He'll be joining the big league team. He'll be joining the big I've been trying to find out what he's been doing in the last, and I couldn't get any answers back from anybody, but I know there had to be some fishing and golf going on. Do you think he hits it here? Do you think this is the spot, or is this a desperate Astro effort? Because I don't think Craig Kimbrel can hit it all, and the Astros have scored less than 7 runs in their last 6 games before last night.
Yes, but to me, I think you roll the dice here, don't you? What's the downside? If he sucks, you cut ties. Like you're talking about a guy who's got more active saves than anybody in the game, minus Kenley Jansen. He's 37 years old. He's been in big situations. Does he have a little bit of juice left in the arm? We're about to find out. He gives them bullpen depth. They do need a little depth in the bullpen. So I don't have a problem with this. I agree with you. They have some holes, but they're in a tight race with Seattle. So if Craig Kimbrel has just a little bit left, he could help them.
And
So,
he's kind of
I'm okay with
streaky,
this.
so they could put him in and find 3 hot weeks. Is he going to win in the World Series? No, don't expect that. But if I'm a reliever in the minor leagues right now, and I have an out on August 25th, which a lot of guys do, hopefully the Astros come calling.
All right, we're back with Andy Kostka of the Baltimore Banner. Big news out of Orioles land this morning, Andy. Positive news, which has been a little rare in Baltimore this year. A big extension for their young catcher who has been in the big leagues. How many days, right? We're not even at weeks when it comes to Sam Basallo, right? I don't know. Check that watch, Kratzy. He's been days in the big leagues, signs a big extension. Tell us more about how important this is for an organization that has been unable to sign all of their young core up until this point. And I don't even know if we call Basallo part of that young core because, like I said, he literally got called up, feels like yesterday.
Yeah, I got called up on Sunday, and here we are Friday, less than a week later. He has a 8-year, $67 million contract just signed. Deal is being finalized as we speak. What's interesting, I mean, I would find it hard to believe that Baltimore didn't at least attempt with other players, the young core, be it Jackson Holliday, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Jordan Westbrook. Those guys, I'm sure there were attempts. They got it done with Basallo, though. And just from I'll start first with the international concept of, when Mike Elias arrived in 2019, there really was not an international presence for Baltimore. And he and Kobe Perez have really built that international presence with the Dominican Academy. That has been a lot of money has gone into that. They're starting to develop, prospects out of that. And Samuel Basallo is the first one that really gets the shine, gets to reach the major leagues. And here he is with a big contract that we say 8 years. Of course, part of that will be he's, pre-arb for 3 years. He has 3 arbitration years bought out. 2 years of free agency bought out, plus a club option for 2034. So technically, if they pick up the option, it would be 3 years beyond what he otherwise would be under team control. But this is a statement from an ownership group that took over 2 years ago and has not had a flashy signing of this caliber. And it is also the first time general manager Mike Elias has extended one of these young stars. It's the first it's this type since Adam Jones in 2012. So think about that.
New ownership definitely making a splash here. But before we get into that, it also shows that Major League Baseball really doesn't care about $68 million. Like a team that is supposedly strapped for cash, but they raised their payroll by a lot this year through arbitration and a few signings that have gone awry. $68 million is not that much because you just never know with a prospect. Am I right?
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, it seems like a pretty team-friendly deal. Not saying it's a bad deal for Samuel Basallo. It's the largest pre-arbitration extension for a catcher in Major League history. So it is a good deal for Basallo, and it has performance escalators via awards and the number of innings caught. That it goes up to 88.5 max value is what we're hearing. So it's a good deal for Basallo. It's a good deal for the Orioles because it's if it doesn't work out, it's not going to hamstring a club. If it does work out, both Basallo gets more money than he otherwise would have through the first 6 years of team control, most likely. And then Baltimore knows exactly what they're going to be paying a centerpiece of their lineup be it at first base, DH, or catcher for 8 years now.
All right, Andy, before we get into how it affects his teammates or comparisons there, any idea if there were other much lower offers earlier this season? Because it's not like this didn't happen since Sunday. Like if you give everybody kind of the, these contract talks are happening, and he passed that automatic window where he could still become rookie of the year next year. How much of these talks were going on in the minor leagues while he was hitting, I think, 23 homers in Norfolk? And you're sitting there going, well, hey, we'll hold this over you. You sign this, we'll call you up. Oh, wait, no, teams don't do that, Andy. So now all of a sudden it gets put out there, and it's the largest contract. Because first things first, they didn't offer the largest contract. And Samuel goes, oh, okay, cool. There's a negotiation in all this.
Oh, naturally is a negotiation. I don't know the exact details of that. We do know that Scott Boras 2 years ago said that he gets calls just about every day about Jackson Holliday and Gunnar Henderson. So this is not something, Mike Elias, the Orioles GM, has, always been tight-lipped for many, for most things, but especially when it comes to extension talks, he always says it's not really worth bringing it up in a public setting. So I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, if this was a massive back and forth for a while. It could definitely, but this seems like a deal that definitely Basallo was comfortable with. The Orioles are comfortable with it. It's probably a case where, they have attempted with other players at the same time. Those deals just haven't gotten done for a variety of reasons. I think you can't discount the fact that Adley Rutschman's signing bonus was $8.19 million, I believe. Or no, that was Jackson Holliday's. I think Adley's was $8 million. So they get, as a drafted player, you do get a pretty large signing bonus, especially when you're a 1-1 right out of college or high school. In Jackson Holliday's case, for Basallo, it was a $1.3 million signing bonus when he was 16. So this guarantees him more than he otherwise would have, which I think plays a role. I mean, this international signee is maybe more willing to sign earlier than somebody that has already been paid and hopefully has good money people that know how to invest that.
Andy, speaking of Rutschman, where does this leave his future? Because it very much seemed like he probably wasn't going to be part of the future because they haven't been able to extend him. He's back on the injured list again. He struggled with injuries this year. Last year, he was, in my mind, I don't know if you agree with this, probably the most disappointing player, especially after about the midway through the season. Do you think, and Eric and I were talking about this before the show started, they could have had Bobby Witt Jr. at that one spot? Like, are they going to ultimately look back at this and say, he was good, but not great? I think about Matt Wieters and the hype that preceded him in Baltimore and how he was good, but never as good as he was supposed to be. Are we going to be saying that about Adley, you think, maybe in 10 years as well?
Yeah, we'll see. The injuries this year have really hampered his ability to prove that 2024 was an anomaly. He's on the injured list with another oblique strain. First was a right oblique. Now it is a left oblique. So not the same, not the same oblique. But yeah, this Adley is a great defensive catcher. I know the metrics to begin this year weren't great, but he has elevated his catching ability of late, and he's a good game caller. So I still view in the long run Adley as the number one catcher, at least through 2027 when he's under team control through 2027. He could mix into the first base conversation. He could be, DH also. But when you look at just how this, the breakdown basically of playing time, you need two catchers. And Basallo can play first base and also DH. So I think it'll be a little bit of a rotation between those positions for all of them. Add in Kobe Mayo at that first base DH option. It remains to be seen what Ryan Mountcastle's long-term future in Baltimore would be. As a 28-year-old, it's kind of funny to imagine him as, the veteran, the longest tenured, I believe the longest tenured Oriole at this point, now that Mullins is gone. So yes, this is a little bit of a eye-opener for Adley Rutschman. doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to offload him immediately. He's still under team control. He's still a good catching option. And I imagine that at least for the immediate future, probably through 2027, he will be in the mix. But we'll find out. I mean, it's probably a little bit of a eye opener for some of the longer tenured, young guys, be it Gunnar or Jordan Westberg or Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holiday, of like, wow, this guy that just turned 21 a week ago, debuted less than a week ago, is now, going to be here for the long term. So it's definitely a statement of intent for Baltimore, and maybe it applies a little bit of pressure on other guys and their agencies to try to work out a deal that is a little bit more team friendly. But we'll find out.
Never did I think I would hear somebody come on and say that Adley Rutschman's a defensive specialist now who's working on his. But I think there's still more in there. I think there's obviously I'm high on Adley Rutschman, but on the flip side, you talked about defense. I looked up some of the defensive metrics in the minor leagues, some of how he moves behind the dish, watching his big league game yesterday, behind the dish. Are they worried about how he moves and how he's going to age behind the plate? He is a monster. And you think about, there's a lot of big catchers in the big leagues. People think catchers are, more of the Alejandro Kirk type of build. And really, catchers are, in the big leagues, are tall guys. You have Salvador Perez. In Baltimore, you had Matt Wieters. Is there a fear of how he's going to age back there as far as how he moves around kind of stiff for a 21-year-old?
Yeah, I think totally. Interim manager Tony Mangiolino the other day, when Basallo was called up, said, it's a critical point in 2025, the remainder of the season, to see how Basallo, number one, calls a game. That's there's not really an advanced metric for how somebody calls a game with the pitcher and navigates that. His blocking seems okay, big body. We have seen a couple balls get away. He had a pass ball on Monday in Boston, and then there was one last night that bounced in the dirt and wound up in the camera well that maybe could have been a little bit better of a block. His framing is something that's going to need to improve. I think the biggest thing, it was never the bat that was the question. The biggest thing was, how was Samuel Basallo defensively? And he's 21 and hasn't actually caught that many games, all things considered, because they had him at DH frequently. They had him working at first base. So long term, and Manzolino mentioned this the other day. Sorry to get back to the roundabout way. He said that he really likes how Basallo projects as a first baseman. Does not mean that he won't catch. He just might be more in that number two catcher mix for the next few years to see how he develops there. And if they want to keep wear and tear, off of a slugger, maybe first base DH is eventually the home for Basallo.
Andy, I want to ask you more of a bigger picture question while we got you. Obviously, this was not the season the Orioles wanted. They were sellers at the deadline. How do you assess this club now moving forward? In your mind, are they going to go out and finally spend money this winter and kind of go for it heading into next season? Are they going to kind of play it as, oh, bad luck, our model said we should have been better and improve on the edges? Do you think this actually kind of sparked a lot of change in the front office, watching kind of their plan blow up a little bit?
Well, I think it has to. I mean, this was a plan that completely blew up. It is sure the model probably didn't predict 16-34. I don't think they would have necessarily believed that, going into the season as any possibility of happening. But it did happen, and the injuries were obviously on the extreme side with the number of pitchers that were injured, but they didn't necessarily plan for losing. I mean, they knew that Tyler Wells and Kyle Bradish were not going to be part of the mix. Charlie Morton had a good rebound and became a trade deadline guy, but was historically poor for the first five or six starts of his time in Baltimore. So those were not big time moves. I think they must make big time moves this offseason, particularly rebuilding a bullpen. This is a bullpen that you're now without Felix Bautista, their closer, for all of 2026, pretty much. He underwent surgery for a torn labrum, and torn rotator cuff and is going to be out for at least 12 months. So you're trying to replace a all-star closer from 2 years before. That's not going to be easy. There is not really anybody in their farm system that looks like an elite back-end reliever at this point. So probably looking at adding 4 relievers, 1 or 2 starters, one of which probably has to be a top-of-line guy, even with Trevor Rogers looking like potentially an ace. I don't know if you can, necessarily write that in stone, saying like Trevor Rogers is the ace next year. You might want a little bit of an insurance policy to make sure there's not regression toward the mean. So understanding all of that, I do believe that Mike Elias has, he's said previously that they are constantly taking stock in what went wrong, how they can improve, things of that nature. And I think they'll look in the mirror pretty hard and say, wow, we did not anticipate the worst possible outcome. Therefore, in the future, we have to be better prepared to handle when the worst possible outcome inevitably comes again, because injuries happen. We've seen with a lot of pitchers. I mean, you have Grayson Rodriguez on the show all the time, and he didn't throw a pitch this year, a meaningful pitch. So they obviously put a lot of stock into him being a big part of 2025. So how they go about this offseason is going to be incredibly telling. And maybe this is a sign that the front office is going to flex the financial muscle a little bit more of the ownership group.
I think the ownership group has made it very clear that they're going to spend money. I think it's $70 million that they spent this offseason. And
Yep.
now they committed another 70 to one player, a young player, which they haven't done. Is Mike Elias the right guy? Is this ownership able, not saying fire him, because look, I think he's built some things, but I think a lot of the things that he does and sits there is, how can we build up all these prospects? Because they could have traded some of these guys for big pieces when they were a wild card team, when they were a division winning team. And he hasn't. And that doesn't mean he needs to get fired. I think too many times we fire people. Maybe more so, hey, lean into people who have made good offseason acquisitions. Because what you said is super crazy, to get 2 good starters, one of them being elite, and what'd you say, 4 bullpen pieces?
Probably.
That's massive. That's a massive haul. And you're saying you need somebody to step in, because I don't think Yunier Cano is that closer that they need to step in. So you need to pick up a big-time closer. Robert Suarez is going to cost $100 million, and you just don't see Mike Elias pulling these triggers in these moments. Is it possible that someone else could be brought in to maybe help, maybe supplement him in those decisions, or would that be totally undercutting him?
I think that'd be undercutting Mike Elias. When David Rubenstein took ownership of this organization, he really emphasized how he believes in the vision of Mike Elias. He emphasized that part of the reason this team was on the up when he acquired it was because of the general manager. And David has been very clear that he's not a Steve Cohen type in New York. He's not going to, basically insist upon signing a certain player or take conversations on his own to go out and sign somebody. He is giving Mike Elias the freedom to do as he sees best, for better or for worse. It's probably not prudent for me to say exactly, to answer the first part of your question of if Mike Elias is the right guy. I do think he has built certain aspects of this team really well. The next step of it, though, is winning at the major league level. They, did it in 23 with 101 wins, but they have yet to win a postseason game. So that is the next step. And if they don't bridge that gap in 2026 and prove that they can be a postseason team, I think there's bigger questions as to whether Mike is the guy to lead this organization from a rebuild into, basically a juggernaut. And as you said, I don't know if that entire wish list is going to be possible. I mean, that is a heck of a deal. And, you might want to look at, I was kind of thinking like, if Alex Bregman opts out, is that somebody you look at? Kyle Schwarber, is that somebody you look at? you look at to add to the lineup, a veteran presence in the lineup, that would cost a lot of money too. We're talking about, a massive offseason that it might require more trades to get some of the pitching, especially. And to do that, it would require Mike being willing to part with some of the higher rated prospects that he, has yet to part with. At least, we've seen, Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby for Trevor Rogers, which it didn't start well, but now it has. And, you've seen the Corbin Burns deal that included DL Hall and Joey Ortiz. Those in hindsight look pretty good deals. If you can swing something like that, especially for a starter under team control, that would be a great way to begin the offseason rather than having to go out and get somebody on a free agency deal. We'll see, but it's a massive offseason for Mike. I imagine he will have the opportunity to resurrect what was a disappointing 2025. We'll see what 2026 and beyond mean for this team and obviously Mike at the helm of it.
Thank you so much, Andy. Check out his work in Baltimore Banner. I'm a subscriber. You guys do awesome work. We really appreciate having you on. Next, we are going to get to which team is the first to 80 wins. We're going to get to that in Better Than Box Scores next.
FT fans, you want to have confidence when you go out in public? Absolutely. We can't all wear a backwards hat like me, but you can get some True Classic fit shirts. It almost looks like, oh, wow, this shirt was tailored for me. Nope, it's every True Classic. This John is soft, it is smooth, and it makes you look a little jacked. I'm just saying.
And Kratz, you are jacked, and you are spot on. True Classic is the spot to go if someone's like, where do I get shirts? True Classic. The colors are fantastic. They've sold over 25 million shirts to more than 5 million customers. Their shirts just win. The feel, the tailored look, the price. We all wear True Classic on FT. I mean, Cam Maben literally can't say enough about them too next time we have Cam on. Hit up trueclassic.com/foul. Give it a shot. Upgrade your wardrobe and save on True Classic at trueclassic.com/foul. That's trueclassic.com/FOUL.
The Yankees are hosting Seinfeld night tonight. Look at this line. They're giving away a bobblehead of George Costanza sleeping under his desk. Look at this quote. I love a good nap. Sometimes it's the only thing getting me out of bed in the morning. I feel that so hard with a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old Kratzy. I love a good nap. And there's Kratzy already napping. I also I also have to say, I don't know how you feel about Seinfeld, but I'm not a huge Seinfeld person. However, I would probably wait in line for that because those are the kind of things that are probably going to be resold for like they're free. They're going to be resold for, I don't even know what, a couple $100, right? These are games that you go to, you get the giveaway, and then you're like, hey, all my food and alcoholic tickets basically free as long as I sell this bobblehead. That's how I'd look at it. But you seem like a collector with all the stuff in your background there. So
I am not a collector. This is all stuff that my teammates gave me. I am not a collector. I don't have a lot of bobbleheads, but the Yankees really need bobbleheads. I feel like the Yankees are like the one team that doesn't do like a ton of bobblehead nights. No shade to the Dodgers. The Dodgers have had 7 Ohtani bobbleheads already with
Golden Decoy.
Decoy. I was thinking Scout, but Decoy. You have the golden bobbleheads. People love them, but I'm a Seinfeld fan. I don't rewatch them though. I like the show.
All right, better than box scores. Let's get to the team that everybody is talking about lately, the Milwaukee Brewers. 80 wins, Erik. Nobody else is even close. Is Pat Murphy going to win NL Manager of the Year again? In my mind, I don't know how he doesn't, right? Which
He's going to hate it if he does. He's going to hate it if he does. He doesn't want the award, but they're playing well.
He's got to. I'm looking at it, and he really, I don't know who was the last manager that won back-to-back. It feels like you win Manager of the Year, and then 2-3 years later you get fired. That was the case with Brendan Hyde. That's been the case with Buck Showalter. It's been the case with a bunch of managers, really, that, you win the award, and then, a couple years later you're out. Skip Schumacher no longer managing. But I digress. The Brewers, a team full of, players that most casual baseball fans have not heard of, that are just playing out of their minds because they play part of a system. And these guys they play the game right. We talked about fundamentals with the Yankees. We talked about, doing the little things right. This team is just constantly putting pressure on opponents, going first to third, running the bases efficiently, playing crisp baseball. They do have the power. The power is more in the pitching staff. The power is not in their lineup. And of course, Brewers fans that are listening say, oh God, I know we're good in the regular season. Are we ever going to win in the playoffs? Like, do you think this team is better set up than previous iterations to finally advance and go on a deep run?
I do, but I still need to continue to see it. I don't need to continue to see them win. They know how to win. I need to see how they're rolling into the playoffs. Are they healthy? Do they have that? Do they have the consistent lockdown of the 6th through 8th inning? Are those areas that they have guys that can compete in the postseason? Because right now, they are exactly like they have been the last 7 out of 8 years when they have made the playoffs. They have a dominant closer. Oh, wait, Hader's gone. Oh, wait, Devin Williams is gone. Step in, next dominant closer. They have 3 legit first 3 games of the playoff starting pitchers. They're a little bit deeper in this, though. They're a little bit deeper in this category. Big Woo had a little bit of a blip for him on the radar, but he's got a below a 2.5 ERA. Freddie P is going to start your first game. The Miz is a guy that's going to give you electric innings. Does he have enough experience? Have they figured him out? This is all stuff that we have to watch September. This team has a great lead, and they will never become complacent because Pat Murphy will not let them get complacent. I think the difference is everybody thinks that this team was just outplayed because they were bounced early in playoffs since 2018 when we made a run to Game 7 and lost to the Dodgers. It's not the case. There's been some crazy, like to say you would have the lead you had in the elimination game and Devin Williams on the mound, the game's over. They should be in the next round. But I don't think this team wants to make it to the next round. They want to win a World Series, and I don't think there is a city besides maybe Cleveland and Seattle that wants a World Series more than Milwaukee fans. And I think this team, especially when Rhys Hoskins comes back, is going to have a lot more power depth in this lineup to be able to get them over the hump.
Yeah. By the way, 2 managers have one back-to-back. Kevin Cash, really? Rays manager, 20 and 21. He's got to be one of the longest tenure managers going now, Kevin Cash. And Bobby Cox in Atlanta. And that, I think, was back in 04-05. So it does happen. They don't always win and get fired. It just seems like it because it's a tough gig. Let's get to Kansas City, where Vinnie Pasquantino, Pasquatch, friend of the show, has been red hot. 4 homers, 4 consecutive games. Look at that one go. He does not swing lightly, Kratzy. He's a guy who, it's kind of like Byron Buxton to me of the Twins. Like, as he goes, it feels like the Royals go. Look at that swing.
I would say yes. Yes, as he goes, the Royals go. But it's still Bobby Witt's team. Bobby Witt is still, he's the energy. He's the Red Bull in the Red Bull and vodka drink. Vinnie P is the guy that is probably never going to get his due because he just drives in 100 runs every year. And people are like, RBIs. It wouldn't happen without Bobby Witt. It wouldn't happen without Michael Franco, or sometimes Isbell's leading off, or India this year. Or, he's always driving in Salvador Perez. You gotta be able to hit the ball to get it out of Kaufman. And what Vinnie P has done, especially if you look back at what he did in April, he has been not only one of the more productive RBI guys in the game, but his quality plate appearances, seeing pitches, and them culminating in a successful at bat, whether it's hit hard, maybe it didn't get a hit, but he's driving runs in different ways in all of baseball. Like, and you sit there and you go, well, who are the stars for the Royals? Salvador Perez,
Yep.
Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Franco's a all-star. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, Vinnie Pasquantino. I think he is the unsung hero of that team that is only 2 games out of the wild card. And everybody thought they should be selling at the trade deadline, and they said, nah, we're going to buy.
Yeah, 15 of his 26 homers have given the Royals a lead this year. I remember even dating back to last year in the playoffs, remember he had the injury and they weren't sure if he was going to be available for the Orioles in that wild card series. And it made a big difference. You know, I remember talking to scouts at the time that were like, the lineup is basically just Bobby Witt. If you add Vinny into the lineup, all of a sudden you can't pitch around Bobby Witt because, you know, you got Vinny too. So I agree with you. It's Bobby Witt Jr.'s team. He's the huge face. But to me, Vinny is the guy that lengthens that lineup, that adds another dimension that makes you go, oh, okay, I got to work around this guy too. Then I got Sal Perez. I've got a little bit more to worry about when he is healthy. Kansas City, as you mentioned, at 8-2 homestand, one of their best homestands. I mean, this is a team that is kind of reminiscent at times of those 14-15 teams. The 15 team obviously won the World Series. That 14 team got there, wasn't able to get it done. But I never thought they were going to sell Kratzy. You look at this front office, JJ Picollo, you look at the ownership group, now with John Sherman, they spent an unprecedented amount of money for them 2 winters ago. They believe their window is now. They signed Bobby Witt Jr. to that deal. They promised him they were going to win. They're going to continue to try to push their chips in. And you know, why shouldn't they? This is a team that is kind of been built around pitching. Is not a team full of huge sluggers, as we mentioned. Obviously, Witt, Pasquantino can do some damage, a couple other guys, but you know they are going to win the Kansas City way, and I think they have as much chance as anybody is getting into this AL wild card. It's really a wide open wild card race right now when you look at how that all shakes out. Obviously, they're not going to catch the Tigers. I don't know if we want to go to those standings, but you know Detroit is so much better than any other team in the Central, but Kansas City is like right in the thick of things right now as it stands. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go back to the playoffs. I mean, look at this right here. 2 games, you got Cleveland hanging around. A little bit further back is Texas. To me, you're probably looking at Cleveland, KC, Seattle, Boston, and New York that are fighting. Those 5 teams fighting over those 3 spots. Seattle, of course, hoping to not be in this mix at all because they are very much still in the division race with Houston. How do you like Kansas City and how this all stacks up?
Well, you should love Kansas City because they put the ball in play. And that's
they
what
do.
you said. That's how you win games.
Why am I being hated on for saying this? This is a fundamental baseball thing that is now coming back in vogue. Let's embrace it. It's not the 3 true outcomes anymore. Who wants to watch walk, strikeout, home run? It is boring baseball. Give me doubles, give me first to third, give me triples. Bring it all back, Kratzy. Bring it all back.
I didn't see any of those doubles, triples, first to thirds in the highlight that we just showed of Vinnie Pasquantino. Everybody finds a way. Everybody finds a way to find somebody that's going to hit a dinger. In Kauffman, if you build your team around dingers, it ain't going to happen. You'll have years where guys pop up. Moose, after the year he got hurt, he put in work, 40-plus dingers. Jorge Soler, 40-plus dingers. Salvador Perez, 40-plus dingers. But you can't rely and live on that. You have to do exactly what you said. You have to put the ball in play. And this team not only doesn't strike out, but they put together good at-bats. They put together good at-bats up and down the lineup. And I thought Jonathan India was going to have a more of a monster season than he's had. But I think what he brought to this team is quality at-bats. They were always a team that didn't strike out a lot. But I love how they're not chasing as much. Before, they just didn't strike out because they put the ball in play. They would just, I'm not going to strike out, so I'm going to, maybe reach out and touch a ball that isn't going to give me hard contact. Now their hard contact is elevated. It's not resulting in a ton more homers, but it's resulting in better at-bats that keep them in the game, and they're wearing down starting pitchers, and then they're able to get that big hit.
Yeah, I agree. And those great teams from the past, those KC teams were pesky. That's kind of how Kansas City has to win, to be pesky. On the base paths, they also had those turbocharged bullpens, if you remember, from the fifth inning on. That game was over as soon as that fifth inning hit. Kansas City bullpen was that good. Reminds me a little bit of San Diego Padres bullpen right now. We'll see how that plays in the postseason, and we will get to that Padres-Dodgers series later in the show as well. Stay with us. We are going in the weeds next.
FT fam, when you're playing in games, you kind of have some stress, anxiety, teammates need something to help. Now it's at your fingertips with Rula.
That's right. Telehealth has been a huge help for millions of people, but it can be time consuming and expensive to find the right therapist. Rula is on a mission to make this process smoother. And make sure you go to rula.com/Val for more details. They take most major insurance plans, and the average copay is only about $15 per session. Every provider on Rula is carefully vetted and chosen for their expertise. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/Val to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please say that FT sent you there to support the show, but also worry about yourself here at rula.com, rula.com/FOUL, and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
All right, a little Max Muncy update we've got right now. He looks like he's progressing a little bit. Kratz, he's taking swings off a tee. He's not feeling any discomfort in his oblique. That's a positive sign. In my mind, they're still going to slow play this a little bit, though, because he's dealt with this injury before. Obliques are a little pesky, though obviously the Dodgers continue to be a banged-up club. They could certainly use him because when he's not hurt, he's been very effective for them. And I think he's a guy that's definitely going to be able to help them when he comes back. I think they anticipate him coming back at some point before the season is over. But again, obliques are just something that, right, you know better than me. It seems like in baseball, you go and you test it, and you got to be careful because if you tweak it again, you're back at square one. So it is definitely a delicate situation here, and I'm sure they're going to monitor how he feels after those swings, which is probably even more important the next day than it is presently when it comes to obliques.
They always talk about in injuries, RTP, return to play. What does that process look like for an oblique? It definitely looks different when you've had an oblique before. Hopefully Max knows where he needs to be, but it's something that you don't want to re-aggravate this. You need, if you're the Dodgers, you need Max Muncy. Max Muncy, if he goes 0 for 4 or if he goes 2 for 2 in a game, he is so valuable because he always sees so many pitches, and I think he changes this lineup more than his numbers would say.
All right, we're going to go in the weeds, and we're going to spotlight a few unheralded players, I guess. If you're fans of these teams, you'd probably be like, no, that guy's important, I know it. But, a little bit off the beaten path, not the stars. Jim Bowden wrote a great article for the New York Times, who is each MLB player's playoff contender's most indispensable, quote, under-the-radar player. The term under-the-radar, Kratzy, always gets me, because it's under the radar according to who, right? But still, I digress. There are plenty of players who don't get enough love from around the league. So do you want to go with yours, or we want to dig into Bowden's here? How do you want to do this?
Let's go to Jim Bowden's first and see what he has. But I have a few, and I think under the radar is, it's all in the eye of the beholder, because some all-stars are not really under the radar, but I think on the team we just talked about Vinnie P. Like he wouldn't be the first guy that you're thinking of, but so anyway, under the radar is subjective.
Yes. So let's go to some of the players that were listed in that article. Here we got the Tigers. Gleyber Torres, he signed a 1-year deal. An excellent move, by the way. And I remember AJ Hinch saying to me, give me the 1-year players any day of the week. Those guys are playing extra hard. They're playing for their next deal. He was obviously with the Yankees before this. He had the walk-off winner on Tuesday. He's been excellent for a Tigers team that is absolutely steamrolling the Central on their way to the postseason. Alejandro Kirk for the Blue Jays. I'm going to let you take this one, Kratzy, as a fellow catcher. What do you feel like he has brought to the Blue Jays?
I think he upgraded his defense. He had good receiving before, and now he's gone back to upgrading his defense, which was a big. To me, it was a big detriment from last year. He signed that extension this year, and his defense is back. I think he's second in overall runs created, runs saved, defensive runs saved. But for me, without going through everybody on this list, his list of the American League, Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham adds, yes, he got off to a huge start. Yes, he plays in Yankee Stadium. People are like, oh, left-handed hitters, they feast in Yankee Stadium. To me, what he brings is stability, Gold Glove stability in center field for a team that had to put Judge out there. And if you have to continue to put Judge out in center field, then there's a chance he could get hurt. And it's kept Judge healthy. It's helped Jason Dominguez transition to left field some. Obviously, it hasn't gone as well, and it's a tough transition. But imagine if you had to have Jason Dominguez in center field learning to play in the big leagues. Even though he's a super prospect and he's the Martian, to me, I think Trent Grisham has alleviated that for this Yankees team.
Yeah, I agree. He jumps out to me. I think Mauricio Dubon jumps out as well. He's played 7 of the 9 positions, GM Dana Brown said. So Garrett Whitlock for the Red Sox also on that list. He's been excellent for Boston as well. I'm going to add to this list my own. I think with Toronto, I know we talked about Kirk. To me, Ernie Clement is a guy that if you're outside of Toronto, probably haven't heard of him. He does not hit a lot of home runs. He does not he probably doesn't make a lot of highlights around the game. I don't know, but I'm a fan. The guy makes a ton of contact. He plays pretty much every infield position for Toronto. He's very versatile. If you talk to guys in that clubhouse, he is a baseball rat. He is a guy that is just obsessed with the game, obsessed with getting better. He has been a huge part of their success. He's a guy who I think when we get to October and he gets to the big stage, people are going to be like, who is this guy? I go on about how he doesn't have a ton of power. We show all these clips where he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark, but he does so much more than that. I don't hate home runs, I swear. He does so much more than that for the Toronto Blue Jays. He's a guy who, if you talk to John Schneider, he'll tell you, their manager, like he has been indispensable to them this year. And what the Blue Jays have been able to do is mix and match so much because they have guys like Clement who they can use in so many different positions. It's really given them the freedom to play the platoon and use the bench and keep everyone involved. And I just think Clement is a guy who's not getting as much attention nationally as he should.
I like that. I'm going to go to the guy I usually go to for the American League, J.P. Crawford. This Mariners team has stars. I mean, when have we ever said that about the Mariners lineup? You have Cal Raleigh. You have Eugenio Suarez now. You have Naylor, who those two guys got traded over. You have Julio Rodriguez, who I don't think has really, reached his hype and his potential. J.P. Crawford, when he's not in there, other years when he's been hurt, there's been a huge decline in the way that they play the game. I think he adds a level of tenacity, a level of stability at a premium position that he honestly makes it look easy. He makes shortstop look easy, and is a sign of a true big league shortstop is, you make all the plays. He's an elite level shortstop, Gold Glove shortstop that is giving this team stability up the middle, which they already have with Cal, Julio, and JP. And I haven't heard any rumblings of him being pissed that he got moved out of the leadoff spot. I think he's now hitting like somewhere 6th or 7th, depending on the platoon matchup. And I just think he is very underrated, and being out west, that might be part of it. But if you look up his numbers and you watch him play, you're like, kind of like that guy.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Great way to spotlight him. Let's go to the NL and look at the article as well, because some really great names on this list, I think, especially if you're not closely following a lot of these teams. The Brewers, it could have just been like the entire roster, but they went with Joey Ortiz, Tanner Banks. You look at this list, Brad Keller, been excellent for the Cubs. Jeremiah Estrada, not a name that like immediately jumps out to you when you think about the Padres, right? We talked about their bullpen. He really is that unsung hero out of that bullpen. Jose Trevino, David Peterson, who was on yesterday's show, Alec Burleson, just a really good list. Is there anyone that jumps out to you, Kratzy, that you feel like maybe didn't get the love here on the NL side? There are so many guys, I think, especially on teams like Milwaukee, that are outperforming what many of us thought, that deserve a lot of love here. But anybody that you think deserves another mention here?
On that list, I'm going to go to Jose Trevino because obviously he's a catcher who's a friend of the show. He got a little bit of an extension when he went over to the Reds. You get traded over to a team, you're like, okay, are they just kind of using me as a piece? He is very underrated because of the fact that this starting pitching staff, has been awesome. And the value he brings in that game calling, the value he brings in experience in postseason games. If this team, it's a big if, they're close to the Mets though, if they do squeak in to a wild card round, he's going to be the guy. Obviously, Tyler Stevenson is a beast behind the plate, but I think Jose Trevino's ability or his experience in the postseason will lend so well to this team, and it may not even lend well in any stat that we have, to be able to see what kind of metric he does well in, how he's helping the team win. But he's that type of guy in a clubhouse, preparation-wise, that is going to get this pitching staff in the right spot.
Yeah, I agree. I want to give a little love to David Peterson, too. I know he was just on the show, but the Mets have had so much trouble in their rotation, Kratzy, as just getting innings. And when you look at, starts where they've gotten innings, 60% of those where they've gone into the sixth inning or more have been Peterson. Honestly, if not for them, they'd be, really up the creek in terms of rotation issues. And now they're calling up some of the young guys now, and then they're trying to find a way to kind of patch this together. But Peterson has been such an unsung hero, really such an MVP of this pitching staff. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get length. He's been able to give the relievers a little bit of a break, and that has just been absolutely huge. It's been a rough stretch for the New York Mets. They went from being up on the Phillies, having a comfortable lead, to now looking up at them for, I think it's 5 games now entering today. It's right in that 5-6 game mark.
Yep.
So David Peterson, without him, you're looking at probably 8, 9, maybe even 10 games back. He has just been absolutely huge for them. I know he was on the list. I just want to make sure we spotlight him because I don't think enough people know what's going on. There's a lot of stars in New York, but David Peterson has been the guy that has kept that Mets rotation afloat as much as possible. It's a band-aided up rotation. David Peterson has been the guy, and I don't think a lot of people anticipated that going into the season.
I think I couldn't agree with you more, and that's not exactly who. But, hey, you know what? All-star. Guy that I have to mention real quick, too, for the Brewers, Bryce Terang. I think he's a career, 89 OPS plus. This year he's having almost a 120 OPS plus, and he plays platinum glove defense. I think he is the unsung hero of this team. Brewers fans will be like, what? We love Bryce Terang. I didn't say you don't love him. It's more of a national unsung hero. And I think he's still improving in the big leagues. I think he's learning. But, man, when you have that kind of defense at second base, it is a game changer for this team, and it shows up in their wins.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll be right back with Isaac Mattson, who has a absolutely terrific backstory. We'll get into him, his life, his career. Him and Kratzy will probably exchange dad stories. So we'll get into him in just a little bit. All right, they're adding panels. Big news. Tropicana Field, obviously devastated with the hurricane. They're adding panels back on. Kratzy. Nature is healing. Raise the roof. Tweeted that out. Look at that. They're on the mend there. I actually don't know, Eric. I don't know if you know either. Are they anticipating this will be ready for next spring? Is that the goal here? 26?
That's what I heard.
Cool.
But the biggest news is, I don't obviously have no idea. Construction always takes, it's like the movie. I forgot what the movie's even called, but they're always like 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks later. Oh, it'll be 2 weeks. Anybody through construction. So it's no different for them. The news is, do you see the color of it? I hope they do not put some type of white covering over that blue tarp. I hope it stays blue because they're moving out of there soon. If it stays blue, that is a game changer. You'll be able to see a pop-up up there without, risking life and limb. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just hopeful of that, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, you're right. People complain about that all the time. That and all the catwalks, right? Everything is white for people who haven't ever gone to a game there, and it's domed, and a ball is foul or a ball is this, that, depending on where it hits on that roof. So
that'll stay.
I don't think, that'll all stay. But it'll be a lot easier for guys who play outfield there, who complain about the turf and who complain about trying to find a ball once it gets into the air there. So I still don't really know a lot of the rules. Every time I was there on the Orioles beat, it felt like something wacky came up, and it only happens at Tropicana Field, right? Where you're like, catwalk B means this, catwalk C means this, and you're like, what?
Who would build it? Like, shame on them. Whoever it was, never again. Whenever they get their new stadium, whatever city it's going to be in, not that company. I mean, it's like playing arena baseball. It shouldn't happen.
It is, but it's climate controlled. So selfishly, for the media, it's an excellent place. It's always like 72 degrees in there. You never have to worry about a rain delay. But new ownership, get it done. Build a nicer stadium. No catwalks. I'm pretty sure that place is like 1 million years old, Kratzy. It was never meant to be this like state-of-the-art baseball stadium, right? Like it is.
Right. Like it's climate controlled. That's what they're going for. I mean, Chuck E. Cheese is climate controlled too. They don't play baseball games there. Like, come on.
I only watch them.
Oh, from the ballpark.
Oh.
Isaac giving us Isaac Mattson joining us from the ballpark cam, clearly.
Oh yeah, BNC Park, baby, we're out here.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for taking the time, Isaac. We appreciate it. I got to ask first because I teased this and I know people are waiting only for this part of the interview. Your dad's strength apparently is what helped catapult you, right? Is what really helped, add a little velo there. Eric is always talking about his dad's strength. I think it's BS when it comes to Kratzy because I don't really believe any of Kratzy's stuff, to be honest with you. How did this all happen? And do your kids take particular pride in you mentioning that they helped propel you here?
Yeah, I mean he's 6 months old, so right now I don't think he's fully aware of how much he's helped me. But for sure, I'd rather have the dad strength than the dad bod right now. But I know that dad bod's coming soon.
It's good. Just allow it to happen. But you can buy a True Classic shirt and it'll go away. You won't even see it. Delve into that a little bit. Delve into that because anytime I came up in the early 2000s, and anytime somebody jumped that much in velocity or hit the ball harder from year to year, you're like, wait a minute. Explain that. Explain the process of what all went into it for you, somebody who has been around the game for a long time, to be able to get that much of a velocity jump. And for me, sustain it throughout the year. That's the impressive part for me.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think more than anything, I was talking with a reporter a couple weeks ago, and something that came to mind was they were asking me kind of where my mind was and what the mindset was behind it. And I think more than anything, fatherhood, it kind of levels things up. Like every experience you have in life kind of levels things up in a way. So before, I love this game, still love this game, but like I always thought I knew what it meant to go out and give it my all. And then when you have a kid and your life changes, it just means like that much more. And you start to realize, you know, deeper meanings to going out and doing your best and making the most of the time you have, because you have that perspective shift. And for me, it's been positive. I think for a lot of guys, it's positive. Sometimes it can be a little bit more pressure, but I love them to death. I love my wife to death. So just being able to show up to the ballpark and have that little bit of extra, like, all right, we're doing it, not just for myself and my wife, but we got a third person in the mix, and now I want to do even better to honor him and to make him proud.
That's a refreshing look at it. But in 2024, when you signed last year, when you signed with the Pirates organization, you look at it and you go, I'm 28. Were you 28 or 29 last year?
Both. But yeah, when I had signed, I was 28.
Yeah, and you sign there and you go, man, they're only calling up young guys. Was it more of I'm going to sign there to get back in affiliated ball because you had played in independent ball the year before? Was it something that, I see a definite opportunity to make it to the big leagues, which you did eventually last year?
Yeah, it was a combination of things. But talking with my agent, there was some opportunity available, but at the same time, still had to show up and do the work. And I felt like, and I still feel like, the player development side of things here did a great job with me, and they've continued to do a great job with guys coming up. Of, how can we help this guy become a better pitcher? And that's not to say other organizations don't have great player development, but just my experience with the Pirates last year, where I had started in 2024 to where I'm at now, being able to look back and know that we put in the work together to be where I'm at now and trying to help this team win baseball games at the highest level. It was a journey for sure.
Isaac, when you look at your career, you started with the Orioles, then you were out in the Frontier League, then you were with the Twins in the minor leagues, and you called some of those experiences like rock bottom, especially with the Twins. Was there a point in time where you thought about staying, like maybe getting out of baseball, where you're like, every minor leaguer I think deals with these moments of like, should I keep going? Should I keep pushing? Can I get better? Or should I face reality? Is this it? Did you have those moments, and how did you push through? Was it your wife? Was it your support system? How did you manage to say, I'm going to keep going, there's more there, I'm going to get to the big leagues, I believe it's going to happen?
It was, there's definitely been periods, I look back at Wichita, that first outing there was a rough one. I look at my outings in 2022 after a lot of things that happened on the physical side and as well as the mental side, losing our mom. So definitely there's been those periods where I kind of look at myself in the dugout after I get out and I'm like, all right, how did that just go, and how do I evaluate where I'm at and where I want to be next? So definitely those moments of doubt, and I feel like there's very few people in this game of baseball, especially, where that's not the case, where you don't have those, periods of doubt or games where you're just like, wow, what am I really doing out here? But being able to have people like my wife, my family, faith is a big part of my life. Just being able to lean on those things and really remember who I am as a human being first. Those things kind of help me reframe those struggles and be able to kind of move forward and grow from them.
All right. This is perfect timing, because this was my question. Is that the dugout phone ringing?
That is. I think I don't know if it's replay review or if that's the bullpen phone.
Okay.
It looks like replay review.
So I'm getting instant, because as a reliever, when you hear that, does your heart just start racing a little bit? Like, you got to be honest, because it's the bullpen phone. To give fans a kind of look into it, like the bullpen phone rings, Isaac Mattson has no idea if he's coming in the game, but every reliever's heart, besides like Bednar when he was closing or Santana when he's closing, your heart starts jumping a little bit. When that phone rang, did it start jumping and take us into the bullpen when you do hear the phone ring?
So right now, no, and it's only because I'm in the dugout. That's where I'm at dictates whether or not that affects me. But for sure, I mean, there's especially one of the things that you realize as a young reliever, or at least a new reliever in the big leagues, is like when you come to the big leagues, you're not going to be that David Bednar, you're not going to be that Dennis Santana right away. So being able to be ready at a moment's notice, especially early in the game, that's when your heart starts to race. When you're that new guy and you're like, oh, this is a situation that I might go in, and you just don't know. But I was actually talking to Miggy, our bullpen coach, a couple days ago, and I was like, I feel like for a lot of guys, like the thoughts and everything, like sitting down in the pen, it can be a little bit tough. You try to find ways to stay locked in. But once your name gets called, it's like, all right, it's go time. Like once you get moving, that's when I feel like, especially for me, it becomes less of a mental thing. And it's like, all right, we're doing what we do. We've practiced this 1,000 times. We've put in the work. Let's just go out and enjoy the moment.
Isaac, Pittsburgh's had a lot of really good players, but Paul Skeens, I mean, what's it like to watch that guy prepare and pitch? There's certainly a little bit of a frenzy with everything he does and everything he kind of carries with him. I know he's not a guy who likes attention, but what is he like as a teammate, and how much fun do you have just watching that guy do his thing, which is, just at the top of the game right now?
Yeah, I mean, his thing is like dominate pretty much everybody. But it's always fun to watch. And it's like, whether it's him cruising for 6 innings or he's working through some traffic, like he finds a way to work himself out of things, and he puts pressure on teams to do things they normally wouldn't do. Like I can't count the amount of times we've had outfielders throw guys out by 10 feet. And I think it's a lot of credit to him, because they don't know if they're going to get another chance to score. So they have to send a guy in a situation they might not. But yeah, I mean, he puts in the work every day. He's here, locked in on what he's trying to accomplish on a day in and day out basis. He has a rough one, which isn't often. Like he's mature enough to understand the adjustments he needs to make, and he makes them and goes out and does his job 5 days later. So it's a joy to watch, and definitely it's a cool opportunity to be in the clubhouse with him and in the bullpen watching.
All right, one of the guys that just got called up for you guys, Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler is a prospect, 22 years old, and he has done nothing but start in the minor leagues.
Yep.
Does it suck to have him down in the bullpen? Because he's a starter. He lives that starter life. Like, oh, he's young. He barely shaves. He's got that, like, tiny little mustache. But now he's down the bullpen, and he's, like, sitting there like, what are you guys doing? And you guys are trying to stay locked in. And do you help him try to make that transition? I know he's not going to be like a one-out guy. They're going to baby him Pirate style for the prospects. But what are the conversations you're hearing with him or other guys are having with him?
Yeah, when you mentioned that, it kind of reminds me of that old shirt where it was like failed starter. All the relievers had it. But no, I mean, he's similar to Paul. Like his maturity level, his ability on the field is. Boy, they're starting music now. Let me go down here. I'm interested to see what happens. I know he's excited to be here, and as bullpen guys, we're just going to do our best to come alongside him. And if he's got questions, we'll answer him. But at the end of the day, it's still baseball. Like whether you're in Indianapolis or Pittsburgh, it's still the game of baseball, and I'm excited to see him compete today.
Isaac, you mentioned your mom, Deborah, how she passed away several years ago. For those who aren't familiar, can you talk a little bit about kind of how you've tried to keep her impact on you alive, even though she's no longer with you? And are there moments where you think about her, whether it's like running out to the mound, or I don't know if you talk to her after every time you pitch? Are there moments in particular where you're like, man, I really miss my mom?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely moments throughout the course of the season. And even just life, there's seasons where when we first had Theodore, like thinking of how much our mom would have loved spending time with him. And there's definitely times throughout the season, ways that I try to honor her. And I think all of us in our family, we've tried our best to honor her memory and who she was, is just trying to do things around the community. with our walk, our family's been organizing it. I think this is the 4th or 5th year that we're doing it. So being able to do that and build awareness around mental health, help those who are in need, because that's who she was. She loved everybody, and then she was willing to sacrifice her time and energy to help others. And so just trying to remember that and honor her in those ways. And then on the field, just, you know, remembering that who we are on the field isn't who we are completely. Like, our job is to play baseball, but that's not who we are. We're human beings, and remembering that everybody's going through something and trying to love on them as best we can.
Thanks so much, Isaac. Congrats on Teddy. Are you starting solids now? 6 months? Is he doing the food? Sitting up? I have an 8-month-old, so we're in it. We're in it.
Yeah, he started teething, so I think we're gonna wait for the first tooth before we give him a big fat steak. But we've got purees on deck, pears, peas, carrots. He's into it all.
Making me hungry.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Isaac. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks to you as well, Isaac Mattson. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Ken Rosenthal, all the latest from around the league. Oh, look at this. Today, the Texas Rangers. Adrian Beltre's number is getting retired. I got to say, Kratzy, one of the cooler moments in my career, I got to see live when Beltre had his 3,000th hit. They stopped the game. The whole Orioles dugout was like on the edge of their seats watching. I wrote an article last year when he got inducted into Cooperstown about Beltre stories. And like, I feel like he wasn't appreciated as much, like in the era of social media and GIFs and all these like quick little videos. Like Adrian Beltre would have been awesome. All of his antics would have been awesome. The way he plays the game, obviously, just like probably it definitely in my top 10 of players that I've loved watching, that I was able to watch all of their career. I don't know where he ranks for you, but you know, obviously a no-brainer for Texas. No one's wearing Adrian Beltre's number ever again. That seems like a no-brainer. So good on Texas for getting that done for the GOAT over at third base. Oh, so many players have so much respect for a guy like Beltre.
Those are the kind of guys you want to retire their number. Not just the guy that just has a bunch of records, has a really good career there. It's a shame. You would have loved to seen him raise a trophy. Like that whole crew with Elvis Andrus and Beltre, both of those guys on the left side, they had just an unbelievable lineup. Yu Darvish was there in his prime pitching. Like those are some teams that you didn't want to play. My favorite Adrian Beltre moment, because he always came with so much energy, is I laid a bunt down on him and I beat it out. So take that, Adrian. Retire your number, but I bunted on you, so that.
Oh, gosh. Oh, sorry, guys. I guess it's not the number, it's a statue? Is that what we got it wrong? We got it wrong.
That's my bad.
Statue. They already retired his number. Sorry about that, guys. He's immortalized. He's immortalized in more ways than one. I was going to say, how is his number not retired?
I wonder how many statues they have. I don't know how many statues.
A couple, because I know they have one for Pudge Rodriguez, because I remember almost running into it when I was trying to find the media gate entrance at Globe.
You were on your phone? You were on your phone?
Yes. And I'm like, oh, Pudge. There he is. I don't know what else they have there, though, off the top of my head, but that's another no-brainer. Like, why do you not put Adrian Beltre up there as a statue, right?
They should have a Michael Young statue.
Yeah, you're right. That whole group, you really felt like, you know, Ian Kinsler, and it was actually really fun when they had that All-Star game recently to have all of those guys back in uniform and back in action, really reminiscent of the great Rangers teams of the past.
Yep.
Hey, we're back with Ken Rosenthal. Live.
Hey, Brett.
Hey, Ken, how are you? How are you?
Good,
Live
how you
from
doing?
some hotel room in America. It's basically how Ken lives his life as he goes from game to game here.
Exactly. I'm in San Diego getting ready for FS1 tomorrow night. San Diego Padres hosting the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Should be an excellent series, Ken. We'll get into that more later. But you wrote about Roman Anthony and obviously had a big home run last night. We talked about him earlier in the show, his maturity. When you look at a guy like this, Ken, I mean, I mentioned this in the show, but like, how important is it for him to be the total package if he's going to come up and not just have the physical tools, but, you know, the mental tools and being able to really embrace everything that goes along with being a big deal to the Boston Red Sox, which is a very tough market to survive in.
Britt, it's always important to be that kind of person. And he seems to be the kind of player, the kind of young man who is just utterly unfazed by anything that's going on around him. So when I wrote that column that was leading into the series, it was about kind of how he's met every challenge so far in a big way. And here he is going into Yankee Stadium, a centerpiece of the rivalry for perhaps the next 8 or 9 years because he signed long term. And I didn't expect that it was going to be a problem based on everything people told me. I'm not that much of a soothsayer that I can tell this myself. So he goes into Yankee Stadium last night, game 1, draws a walk, has a game-tying single, and then, of course, the home run, which was an absolute dagger in the 9th inning, a 2-run shot to make the score 6-3. I would say he looked unfazed.
All right. Well, let's stay with some young guys in the American League East. Samuel Basallo just signed an extension. Obviously, we can look at the numbers. Obviously, we can look at the player. But can you hit on more of the long-term ramifications and just the overall picture of the Orioles, who are doing bad this year, but are still expected to win?
A couple of things here, Eric. First off, the implications for the industry. When you see young players like Basallo, like Roman Anthony, like Jackson Merrill sign these deals, I always see both sides of it. Certainly, if it's my son and somebody's waving 130 million at him, or even 67 million as Basallo just got, it's really tempting. And you never know what'll happen in life, and that money is obviously guaranteed. It's going to set you up for a long time. The other side of this is when these young guys sign these extensions, they are sacrificing the chance to earn even more money, much more money, at a later time. Now, Basallo is a guy who would have been a free agent, I believe, entering his age 27 season. Roman Anthony, the same. And those are young ages for free agents. We've seen how free agents can benefit when they enter the league so young and then, of course, reach their 6 years and go to free agency. And who knows, in the next CBA, it might not even be 6 years. Maybe it's 5. So all of that is clearly a concern for the union as they try to push the salary structure forward. And I know most fans sit there and say, well, what's the difference, man? The guy's making 100 million. The guy's making 500 million. There is a difference. And it does matter. But again, I see both sides of it. I get torn on it, Eric, because in my mind, Roman Anthony is probably going to be a $600 million player if he becomes a free agent. Basallo, I'm not so sure about. The position question makes it a little bit different. Of course, Jackson Merrill, a center fielder, my goodness, he could have hit the jackpot. But these guys made their choices, and I'm sure they're comfortable with their choices. Now, from the Orioles' perspective, I heard Andy Kostka earlier talk about how this is a statement by ownership. I don't buy that. This contract is a deal any club would have wanted to do with a player as promising as Basallo. I don't care what position he plays. He's going to hit. We've seen that already. He's one of these guys who looks like he was born to hit. So 8 years, 67 million, sign me up. The real question for the Orioles will be, as Andy mentioned, what they do in the offseason, because they do have a lot to do. And hey, they made a representative offer to Corbin Burns last offseason, 4 years, 180 million. It was representative, but it was also bound to lose because everyone knew he wanted 6 years or 7 years. So it's a huge offseason for them. Obviously, this is a good step. And people might say, well, what about Henderson? And what about Rutschman? And what about Westberg? All these other guys? Well, they're all different. Henderson, represented by Scott Boras, as is Jackson Holliday. Scott Boras' clients generally go to the open market. Doesn't always happen. I know Scott might be listening. It doesn't always happen. But more times than not, it does happen. And with Rutschman, He obviously did not sign an extension, and now there are questions about what Adley Rutschman is and what he's going to be. So Basallo was the guy. He was the guy who was willing to take a deal, and good for the Orioles in getting it done.
You talked about the broader picture. I want to talk about the broader picture of those three contracts: Merrill, Roman Anthony, and Basallo. Can this give fans an idea of how much money teams, I don't want to say wasting are, but when a guy has very little time in the big leagues, the uncertainty of how he's going to make adjustments in the big leagues and actually have a successful career, shouldn't it give fans an idea of when your team says, we don't want to spend $40 million, but they're giving contracts to guys who are just barely in the big leagues that are over 80 to $100 million, shouldn't this give fans an idea like, hey, it's really not that much money in the scheme of things for teams?
It's not if you look at it on an annual basis, So, yes, it's $67 million for Basallo, but it's over 8 years. It's $130 million for Roman Anthony over 8 years, $135 for Jackson Merrill over 9 years. When you break it down like that, it's very club friendly. And obviously, if these players went year to year, then went to arbitration where their salaries would rise, and then to free agency, the potential for more is there. At the same time, teams will say these contracts can be gambles too, because there is no certainty in the game. Maybe Basallo is a bust. I don't believe that is a very high likelihood, but it could happen. We've seen this kind of thing happen before. So there is a bit of risk on the club side to commit that much. And there is also, Eric, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, the possibility of complacency for certain players after they get their money. I don't know that it happens very often. Most players are extremely driven, but there is that. And there's been some talk. I know my colleague at Fox, John Smoltz, has mentioned with the Braves, you gave all these guys money, and now, well, it's not necessarily all working out in your favor. Injuries occur, as with Spencer Strider in their case. So, Eric, I wonder what you think about that trend, just from that perspective.
No, I can hear that. I can hear what you're saying, but we started this out talking about the article that you wrote about Roman Anthony. They all of a sudden they didn't just find Samuel Basallo and like, oh, we didn't even see this guy. They've known him. They've had him since he was 16 years old. So if you're a player out there that's not getting a contract extension and you're that type of player, maybe they're worried about that. And so they wouldn't go that route. So, but I see it as a player's point of view. There's so many guys that get extensions and actually play better because they're not worried about where their next contract or getting hurt is going to come from.
Eric, it's actually a good point. And when I wrote that story about Anthony, I talked to his agent, Mark Rogers. And Mark said to me that he thinks in part Anthony wanted the deal because he doesn't want the distraction. He just wants to go play. And there's value in that. Let's face it. If Roman Anthony did not sign that deal, what would happen in a city like Boston where there is such intense focus on the team? There would be talk of the extension year after year after year up until he became a free agent, as there was with Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts and others. So he eliminates that, and he can now just go play, and he's not going to be impoverished. We all know that. So that's another angle to this that definitely is worth considering.
Ken, I want to stay in the AL East. I want to go to the Blue Jays, who Shane Bieber's making his first start tonight. And he, I think, is a great acquisition and certainly didn't cost an arm and a leg because he hasn't pitched. He's coming off Tommy John. So the Blue Jays relied very heavily on their scouts in Ross Atkins in addressing a need, because you look at this rotation right now for the Blue Jays, they've got 5 guys. So now you have a little bit of a competition. You add Bieber into the mix. They're 27th in F4. They're 20th in ERA entering today. Could this be a potential big impact deal? Because we don't often see starting pitchers of Bieber's caliber moved at the deadline. And could this really, in your mind, if Bieber is even close to Bieber of old, could this catapult Toronto into like a real legitimate World Series threat?
That is the best case scenario, no doubt, Britt. Now, they did give up a good prospect for him because he is Shane Bieber, former Cy Young winner, a guy who, when he is healthy, is as good as there is in the game. The only concern I have here, and I mentioned this, I believe, in a column I wrote recently, he's coming off Tommy John surgery. I know he's looked great on his rehab assignment, and from that perspective, from that angle, you look at it and say, well, why wouldn't he translate it to the big leagues? Because it's not that easy. That's the reason. And we've seen Spencer Strider, albeit a very different situation, coming off a second major elbow surgery, but it doesn't always take immediately. And there might be issues, control issues, command issues, whatever the case might be with Bieber as he transitions back to the major leagues. But the way you described it, Britt, if he is indeed on track to becoming anything close to the Shane Bieber of old, great move by the Jays. And yes, it can be a catapulting kind of move. The Jays are really interesting. I wrote about the Brewers this week and the way they go about it and the high contact, low strikeout, all the things that they do offensively. The Jays are the American League version. And you look at them and you wonder, okay, Vlad, Bichette, Springer's having a great year, but all of these other players, Barger and all the rest, they're not exactly household names. And yet they do good things offensively to score enough runs. So I am not only intrigued by Bieber and how he might fit into that rotation, but I'm intrigued by this team in general and just what they're going to be. They're like Seattle to me. They've got to prove it. And we've talked about Seattle for years on the verge of contention. We've talked about the Jays for years, how talented they are. Here these teams are on the doorstep of playoff berths. Well, they've got to go grab them, and then let's see what they do in October.
All right, another team on the doorstep or going out the doorstep, Houston Astros. They lose Josh Hader. Their bullpen is depleted. They just signed Craig Kimbrel. But what I want to ask you about is not their bullpen being depleted, which you thought over the last 10 games would have been, oh, this is tough. How can we get through games? It's their offense. They scored 7 runs last night, and that eclipsed what they had scored in the previous 6. Is there a sense of maybe some of the pieces that we have that we picked up? A Jesus Sanchez who went 5 for 5 last night, but before that, I think 9 hits aren't necessarily fitting into the cog yet of the offensive system that the Astros have, or is this team just not that great at hitting on a consistent basis?
They're fine, and they're going to be fine. And once Yordan Alvarez comes back, his presence alone is going to transform that lineup, which is too right-handed, has been too right-handed, and Sanchez was one of the reasons, or one guy that they brought in for that reason, right? So I expect that they're going to be a good offensive team again, and they're not perfect. No team is, but Alvarez alone, because of that presence, could be transformative for them. And they were a relatively decent offensive team for most of the year until the last week or so, or last 2 weeks or so. Not a dynamic group entirely, but what's happened recently is kind of shocking. My bigger concern is the bullpen without Hader. Kimbrel's bounced around now. I don't know that he is much of a solution. Maybe he is. And the rotation, it's healthier, and it should be rounding into form with Javier back and Arrighetti and all of that. I think they're going to be okay. And I'm wondering, though, if Seattle, as I just mentioned, here you are. Josh Hader is down. Houston is not what we've seen in all recent years, right? No Bregman, no Tucker. We can go on and on and on. Correa's back. But there's an opportunity here for Seattle. And are they going to grab it?
Yeah, Houston, we have a problem is all I keep thinking every time somebody brings up the Astros. Ken, we talked about the Padres-Dodgers. I'll be there this series as well. I know recently on your show, Fair Territory, you said that you thought the Padres would win the NL West. The Dodgers obviously swept them just last week. They meet again for 3 more. I'm giving you an opportunity here, Ken. What do you think happens here? And are you going to change who you think wins the NL West based on what you saw the last time these two teams met?
First off, Britt, you know this because we work together. My predictions are awful, always awful, and they're worth nothing. So whatever I say, I mean, I'm going off my gut or whatever seeming intelligence I might have, but I never can predict baseball. No one can. I still like the Padres. And I like the Padres in part because of what the Dodgers just did in Colorado, which was kind of faceplant again. They split that series, and that shouldn't be happening. They are a team that, yes, got up for San Diego last week, but all season long, I've just kind of questioned coming off a World Series title if the same, it's not desire, but there's something there that I don't see that we've seen from the Dodgers in the past. You see it in the Padres. They're out to attack. They're out to slay the dragon. That's the phrase I often use with this kind of situation. They're ready to take the next step. Now, are they good enough? That's going to be a question. And I still wonder about their rotation. I still wonder about their offense, which doesn't hit enough home runs. These are all fair questions. And the Dodgers are the team to beat until proven otherwise. But the Dodgers had a chance this week to maybe at least hold the 2-game cushion, and it's now back to 1 game. And anything goes from this point on. They've got defensive questions with Teoscar Hernandez. They've still got injuries that they're dealing with. We're going to see Tanner Scott tonight. We're going to see Kirby Yates maybe tomorrow. Their bullpen is getting healthier, which is great. Their rotation is healthy, which is great. But there's been something missing here the whole year. And it's understandable when you're coming off a championship. One, you're physically extended because you play deep into October, and it's going to cost you with injuries. We've seen that with Evan Phillips and others. The other thing is, hey, man, they went so hard to get what they wanted. Once you get it, not that they don't want to win. Of course they want to win, but it's a different psychology, and we've seen that this year.
All right, real quick. This series is obviously close, and every team is – but home field advantage. Home field advantage. I expect a Ken Rosenthal article about why only 2 teams are above 500 by more than 2 games. It's the Brewers and the Tigers. I think the Tigers are 5 games up on the road, and the Brewers are 8 games up on the road for their road records. These 2 teams are playing. Home field advantage seems like it's going to be the deciding factor for the playoffs. So whoever gets that is going to win, right?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to write that article just yet, Eric. Not a bad idea. I'm always welcome for any ideas that come my way, or grateful, I should say. Home field with Petco Park, yeah, that's meaningful because that place is electric. And Dodger Stadium, certainly last weekend, they like beating the Padres, the Dodger fans do, and they got their wish. I do expect Petco to be really alive this weekend because, again, it's this whole little brother thing that they don't like hearing about, and I don't understand that, but they want to beat LA. It's the whole thing. And last year just amplified it because they had him. They had him 2-1 in the division series at home with the Dodgers throwing a bullpen game, and they couldn't close it out. So here they are. They've reinforced themselves at the deadline. They've got their core still intact with Machado and Tatis and everyone else. I expect it to be really electric and really kind of an unusually fired up atmosphere, even for Petco this weekend.
Yeah, definitely going to feel probably like a playoff atmosphere. Ken, thanks for joining us. As always, check out Fair Territory Mondays and Thursdays. We'll be right back with all the games that you need to watch this weekend. There's Thursday's locks. A big miss there for Scott. He's down 115. AJ, well, he lost again, but he's at least a plus 260. We've got a big win for Papelbon. He's plus 167. And Pilar also missed as well. Kratzy, oh my gosh, you are down $1,161. Just want to make sure everybody saw that, even though it's right here on your screen. What do you got? How do you rebound from that? Where are we going? And should I be just betting the inverse of what you're betting? Because I'd be up.
The inverse. It's called fading me. It's called fading me, Britt.
But
okay. Everybody can read it. We don't have to keep harping on. We can put my career batting average up there too if you want to keep prodding at things that I just feel so dilapidated and demoralized about. No, today it's a lock. Max Fried is going up against the Red Sox. The Yankees need him to right the ship. He hasn't been going very well lately, but he has been going long. They've been getting his pitches out of him. Not length, but they've been getting his pitches. So I see him sticking in there for his 100 pitches. And the Red Sox on the road strike out 10 times a game. So I'm going over at plus 110. The over strikeouts for Max Fried tonight, it's at 6.5. I see Max coming out with 7.
So those of you who are listening and paying attention, I would just bet the opposite of what Eric just said.
Fade it.
Maybe later. Fade it. Fade it.
Fade me.
So I don't know these terms. And when I think fade, I think like that cool little haircut that guys do. Right?
Oh, you mean my haircut? Yes. I have what they call a high fade.
Oh, all right. Yeah. See, I know none of this.
It's a forever fade, Britt. I have a forever
Oh,
fade.
yeah. Yes. Your hair is gone. Like my husband's, our 3-year-old goes, Dad's hair is gone. I don't know where it went. It's gone. He'll find it again someday. Those are the BetMGM Locks. We're going to get into looking ahead here. Talk about some baseball games that we're excited for this weekend.
Yes, we are looking ahead.
We are looking ahead. Well, it's perfect. We were just talking about this weekend's big series with Ken, the Dodgers and the Padres. You got Blake Snell, Yu Darvish. Lots of exciting games going on here. I know that's going to be, like I said, playoff atmosphere type of baseball as well. Any games you're looking forward to in particular this weekend, Eric, before we get into the whole slate of what's going on here in MLB as we get closer and closer to September?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we have Red Sox. We have the Red Sox Yankees series. To me, there's no better matchup for both of these teams. Fried versus Brian Bello. Like, Brian Bello's kind of started to look like he's taking that next step to be the guy that's going to slot in behind Garrett Crochet. A little bit of a blip recently, but to me, these are two teams that the rivalry is what the rivalry is. So it's going to be must-see TV. I'm surprised that Ken's not there doing that game, but he's in San Diego doing the LA and Padres game. Like, to me, these two series are the marquee series for this weekend. My favorite thing about the Padres-Dodgers game is each team's best pitchers are matching up against each other. So you have Blake Snell, you have Glasnow, you have Yamamoto for the Dodgers. It doesn't really matter for the Padres because all their starters have to do is get it to the 5th inning. I mean, they don't have to finish the 5th inning. You get it to the 5th inning, and I think Schilt's going to empty his clip in that bullpen. So to me, if you look past the 5th inning, it's going to be a long games. It's going to be gasolina, and it's going to be some elite bullpen guys. And I think the series shifts the Padres' way because of that.
Yeah, I agree. I also think for the Padres, you got to win tonight. You just lost 3 in a row to the Dodgers. You got to get them out of your head. You got to go out tonight and kind of make a statement. Not that you can't salvage the series if you don't win tonight, but in my mind, especially at Petco, especially with those fans, you want to keep them in this. Winning tonight would be a big statement. So that's obviously going to be something I'm paying attention to. I'm going to the game. I'm also going to have a Bieber's game. He's playing Miami, as we mentioned. It's going to be his return to the mound. How is he going to look? That is really going to heavily play in because if he's good, all of a sudden the Blue Jays have a little bit of a rotation competition. Not the worst thing in the world down the stretch to have 6 guys fighting for 5 jobs. Max Scherzer has pitched a lot more like Max Scherzer as of late. They also have Kevin Gossman, obviously, as well, Chris Bassett. So they're going to have really an odd man out, which is a great situation for a team to be in. He's going to make his season debut against a Miami team, missing Kyle Stowers, who's been their best hitter. So that's going to help a little bit as well. As Ken mentioned, you're not sure what you're going to get. Guys coming off Tommy John often have command issues. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares, how Miami plays it in their first look at him as well. So lots of really good games. But but we kind of highlighted what I think are the ones I'm going to have on. It's hard. This is the time of year, Kratzy, where I've got like 4 boxes up a lot, and I'm trying to pay attention to like what this game means here, what this game means here, because we are getting into the time of year where, series matters, wins matter. You look at a team like the Reds that, they're not playing like a big divisional opponent matchup, but they are playing because they're trying to stay in this wild card race, right? There are teams that every win counts. Houston, it's every win. Seattle, like we're in this stretch here. There's only a couple teams, really like Milwaukee and Detroit, where it's kind of like going to be coast season here pretty soon, where they can lose a game here and there and it's not really going to matter. Everybody else is still very much in it. The Cubs are in an unusual situation in my mind, Kratzy. I don't know how you feel, but how do you get up for it knowing you have like a 5.5 game lead in the wild card standings? You're not catching Milwaukee, but you're probably not going to fall out of the wild card race here either. They're in a little bit of a weird situation, I think, looking in at this like last 5 weeks or so of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the whole let up or let off thing, I don't know. I rarely see players actually confirming that happened. Like, you don't get complacent. Like, it's the big leagues. Like, you're trying to go out there and win every day. Maybe managers manage games a little bit differently. You're not burning your bullpen up, because the Cubs need to make sure their bullpen is fresh going into the playoffs. But to me, a big series that has one team that's completely out of it, but is playing a divisional opponent, it's the Braves and Mets series. The Mets are scary close to getting eliminated from the wild card position that they've had the entire season. And you talk about the Reds trying to catch them. The Mets need to turn it around. Lindor hit the first inning home run yesterday, and you go, okay, here comes the Mets offense. Here they are. You look at the standings, they're a half a game up. They're a half a game up on the Reds. And tonight, they have kind of their project. McLean's going again. He's got an opportunity to not just solidify his spot, but continue to make that tryout in a starting rotation that needs so much help. They need so much help, and they need length. They need quality starts from their starters. And if he puts together 2 more of these, that would only be 3 big league starts. You sit there and you go, okay, this is a guy that we can use in the postseason. And the Braves, when you play a divisional opponent that was supposed to be really good, the Braves know this team. I get it. They haven't been playing well. I get it. They're kind of being held together by duct tape and bubble gum, but this team knows how to play in division, and they're going to be tough. The Braves are playing loose. They have nothing to lose. Michael Harris is starting to hit better. Acuna's come off of that IL stint, and you sit there and you go, this is a team that could really upset the Mets.
Yep, I agree. Stay with us. We are going to slap hands next.
What's up, all my people of FT, all my beautiful, beautiful people of FT on this beautiful Friday. I hope everybody's doing good. I hope we're loving we playing with house money. Because if you're going with Parlay Pop, man, you're playing with house money all year long. And it's just a joyride. It's just a joyride. That's what it is, folks. Anyway, I got to get my pick to y'all this beautiful Friday because I feel like this is another lock. I'm really confident in this one. Pirates playing the Rockies. We know how that was going to go, right? Pirates got to win and take them in the money line. And Blue Jays playing hell of some baseball. They playing the Marlins. So we know how that one's going to go too, right? Toronto. So we're going to take both of them in the money line. We're going to put them together. It's plus 150. Put another 100 on it. Let's get some weekend cheese, baby.
All right, there's Pap's lock. Look at that. Max Fried for Kratzy. And we've got Pittsburgh, Toronto for Pap. Yep. By the way, he kind of missed his calling, Kratzy. I feel like he'd be great in an auction. Like, right? Going once, going twice. He's got that vibe. Sold. 150, anyone got 2? Who's got 250? That's literally how he just read that segment.
Pap's got energy. I love it.
Sure. I love it. He's got the auction energy for sure. The king of the big swing is making the best day of the week even sweeter. Here's how you can knock a bomb of a bonus bet into your account on Fridays throughout the season. Place your first home run bet of the day. Parlays now included. Minimum $10 on a player, players, and if they have the longest home run of the day, win your share of $50K in bonus bets. No opt-in necessary. Just apply your Big Fly Fridays qualifying token dropped into your account to use on the first player or players you take to hit a home run every Friday. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tell Marte, stay a Suzuki.
All right, Kratz, we made it. We did it. We got to the end. Let's see what your hat is. Kratz's hats. What do you got?
Best team in baseball, best record in baseball by far. Got their 80th win. The Brew Hatz.
Yep, got free burgers for everybody. I mean, they have done their job this season. The only question is, will they do it in October, Kratzy? That's what all the Brewers fans in my life want to know. Will they do it in October? You think they will? I'm starting to agree. I'm starting to believe that this team is a little bit different than Brewers teams of the past. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for joining us so much. I'm Britt Ghiroli, filling in for Scott Braun. He's Erik Kratz, as you know. Have a beautiful weekend full of lots of baseball.